Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on building a change-ready culture. My name is Tim Coupler, and I'm the president of Denison Consulting. I'll be your host for today's webinar, and we're very happy to have Lisa Morris here with us today from the School Employment Retirement System of Ohio. Before we get started, let's quickly go over a few technical things. We will present for about 40 minutes and then use the remainder of our time to answer questions sent in by our audience. We will have a couple polls as we go through the presentation, and we'll try to use that as an opportunity also to respond to some questions. On the right hand of your screen, you'll see your control panel that you can use to send in your questions. We ask that you please send in your questions throughout the presentation rather than waiting for the end. This gives us time to organize them and make the most of our question and answer session. We will try to get through as many questions as we can, and we do apologize if we don't get to your specific question. We'll make every effort to follow up with you after the webinar. I also want to let everyone know that a copy of today's webinar and PowerPoint slides will be archived on our website if you'd like to view them again. We'll email all of you once they are available. Now, to get started, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today. Lisa Morris is the Executive Director of the School Employees Retirement System of Ohio, or SERS. Her story has actually been presented at our annual Best Practices Forum. Denison's written a case study related to her story on building a change-ready culture, and now it's been captured in a webinar. So we know you like the content, and I will turn it over to Lisa. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Tim. It's just really nice to be with you today, and I'm actually thrilled to talk about something that I truly believe in. And that is how culture is the key to move good services to a standard of excellence. And I will tell you, when I started my career probably 35 years ago, to be honest, in my professional growth, I would not have believed that I would be here today talking about culture. I'm a baby boomer. I'm an attorney. And success and excellence to me when I started my career came through hard work. And there was nothing fuzzy about this. But what I'm going to walk through this morning has appeared at times to SERS to be quite elusive, quite conceptual, and hard. But at other times, it is just so absolutely simple. The School Employees Retirement System, just to give you a bit of context, has been around for 75 years, and we serve a little under 200,000 of the non-teaching employees in Ohio's public school system. We provide retirement services. We help people make life-altering decisions. But we're also a $10 billion trust fund. So we're in the financial services sector, and we're fiduciaries of that $10 billion, which we invest for these good folks that contribute their money to us. What initially motivated us to start looking at how we interact with each other internally was this inverse pyramid organizational chart, which is, there's nothing really new or mysterious about this, but it became rather symbolic to us of our motivation. And if we got off focus, we looked at this chart again and we realized, okay, it's very important. If we want to impact our service level to our members and retirees, we must make sure that we interact internally in a positive fashion. We listen to staff, we value staff, and we develop staff, because after all, this clearly represents that staff are those individuals who daily have the most contact and the most control over the direct services that we give. It's not the board of trustees that we all work for. It's not the executive. The management is one step removed, but it's staff. So why haven't we focused on them? We began our journey actually in advance of the Denison survey in 2006. We started with strategic planning, and our goal was first to find out what our strengths and weaknesses were to get a plan. We're planners, and we thought it would be rather linear, and it absolutely was not a linear process. As I said, this is a journey. it's been a meandering process. You know, you hear that metaphor that change is like a river. It flows. And that's absolutely true. So we found that we had to experience this, and it was through trial and error that we tried something, it didn't work, we took a step back, we tried something else, and it worked. When we engaged first in strategic planning, we did all the standard things, developed mission, vision, strategic goals, and we had 3 overarching strategic goals, one of which, interestingly, was to develop an organizational culture that will support success. And we knew we had a strong sense of mission, but we had to have more than that. But what is culture? We didn't understand it. We did the right things. We formed cross-department, cross-functional work teams. We started to involve staff. But we needed to validate our cultural issues and learn a lot more about what that really was. We'd never even used the word in the context of work. So when we took the Denison survey, we started out with the unknown. And of course, like everyone else, we wanted lots of color. But we literally had no idea. We were totally unprepared for what our staff told us. We called this the donut of doom. And in fact, if we'd been in private business, this would probably be the profile of a business that was winding down. But we're created by statute. We've been here for 75 years, and we are designed to be here for future generations. So we had to roll up our sleeves. We're a public pension fund, and I know you hear lots about public pension funds, that they're all in trouble. We're actually very well financed and prudently invested, and we're not in trouble. But internally we were. So we just had to roll up our sleeves and get to work. And we had to have the attitude that we could fix this. I would say that don't ever underestimate the strength and the impact of just a few people, and don't ever underestimate the importance of attitude, because at times that was all that got us through. We had a Denison consultant that helped us work through this. She brought us the culture survey tool, and then she worked with one of our cross-functional teams, the Change Ready Culture Team. That's a team that's been in existence since 2006. It still meets now. And she told us that we were the only ones that could figure this out. We were waiting for the formula. Just tell us what to do and we'll fix us. But there's no formula. And each organization just has to put the will to do this behind the Change Ready journey. We needed to start with a positive. And the staff told us that we did have some positives. We had good people. We're very, very mission-centric. So that gave us a leg up. We wanted change. The leadership wanted change. They knew that. It was very clear to staff. Some of the key top leadership very clearly had communicated that. I understood once we developed the cross-functional teams and identified a strategic goal as organizational development, that my main job had to become leadership development. Leadership, a term that we really had never used before, a term that we really couldn't define, and a term that our directors, who are in charge of our departments, had never discussed, never studied, never read about. We had, like so many organizations, promoted subject matter experts into leadership positions and then expected them to be leaders. It doesn't happen that way. We found out that our leadership, if you think back to that inverse pyramid, our leadership, our management, was our thermal layer. That if I only talked to them, what I had to say didn't get through to the staff, and what the staff had to say didn't get through upwards through them. So that was, if your directors aren't with you, if your executive management isn't with you, you won't make progress because you'll be communicating at cross purposes. So that was also a team that met every 2 to 3 weeks, and that was hard. I had one director come to me and actually self-select out. This person said, I cannot do what you are asking me to do. I have never been asked to do this. I simply can't do it. And you will find that when you push change, this will happen, and you have to be ready for that. We found out through listening to our staff, and when we started with strategic planning, we started with focus groups. And that's where we first got the idea. We needed to know more about what's going on in our organization. The Denison survey validated for us that we had a climate of fear, that our staff was afraid to tell the truth, that without respect and honesty, we wouldn't have positive communication. We were also rather stodgy, rather 20th century. I heard often, well, we've always done it that way. That's the way we do things here. We had to break that mold. If you think of your best or your favorite teacher when you were either in elementary school, high school, college, or graduate school, it doesn't make any difference. What's the profile of someone that was your positive motivator? It was someone who could create a climate of trust and respect, someone who believed in you, and someone who, above all, was positive. You performed the best. So people don't perform well when they're afraid of getting in trouble, and they certainly don't innovate when they're afraid of making mistakes. They just keep their heads down. We had to decide what our Denison results meant for us, so we just took it piece by piece. We broke it down, we identified issues, we developed strategies, we made recommendations. If it didn't work, we did it again. But we were relentless. We would not give up. As I said, we had a cross-functional team that was our change-ready culture team. And to tell you a bit about that, there were about 15 people. It's still about that size, half management, half individual contributors. And we've been meeting every 2 to 3 weeks. We had to learn how to work together as a team, how to trust each other. This became our steering team for the whole culture change, organizational development initiative. So this had to be an extremely safe environment for people. When I walked in there, I had to make it clear there was no rank. I was no different from someone in the mailroom. I had to learn how to listen to them, and they had to trust me that it was safe for them to tell me what they really experienced and what they changed, what they needed to change. We realized that through just breaking it down, talking about it, trying things, talking to staff, that we had to change the way we do business to change our culture. And actually, if we changed our culture, we would absolutely change the way we did business.
All right, thank you, Lisa. We're going to take a break for 1 second to have our first poll. And you've heard a little bit from Lisa about what she started with on her journey to create a change-ready culture, and would like some feedback from the group. We're going to have a poll come up here that you can respond, and we're going to keep this open for about a minute and a half. And what would be your first priority in creating a change-ready culture? And please select one. Create a climate of trust, develop leadership, eliminate department silos, or facilitate communication efforts. Okay, we're at about 75%. We'll take a few more seconds for a few more votes. And the winner is creating a climate of trust. And the other three responses actually tied. So I'm going to turn it back to Lisa, and she'll tie this back into the rest of the webinar.
Thank you, Tim. This is very interesting. I'm not sure there's one right answer. And what we did, I mean, we understood clearly that all of these issues were priorities for us. And we couldn't ignore any of them. But you can't do everything at once. Since we had started out with that donut of doom, and it really had impacted us, we had to grieve a bit about our organization, about what we didn't know about it. We decided that we really needed some low-hanging fruit, some success. So we started to do the things that we could achieve, because we couldn't just keep talking about change and talking about creating a better place to work without actually showing the staff that we listen to them and we value what they're saying. So when we put together all these cross-functional teams, one of the teams we put together was a pension security team. It's not strange, we're a pension fund. And that team, which was cross-functional, actually developed and handed off to us proposal for a piece of legislation that was the one of the first successful, I've lost something here, the first successful pieces of legislation in the country to adjust for demographics, for demographic shifts, because we're living longer. We're drawing retirements longer than we're contributing, and your equation gets out of balance. So we did something that most pension funds didn't do. We raised our retirement age. We started to change the legislation, and we were successful in 2008. We also hired communication staff. We brought in 3 people, since we needed to communicate better. We brought in 3 experts that actually were communicators. We trained them. We sent them off to other pension funds that did very good work. We started to engage externally. I'm now on my 35th editorial board visit, and we are the only pension fund of 5 pension funds in Ohio that has gotten very positive press, which is a rare thing for pensions right now. We are developing Facebook and Twitter. I mean, I just never thought we would do things like this, but we started to behave differently. We started to take some chances, and we started to really exhibit not just personal courage, but institutional courage. We realized that staff gave us a gift, and that was the gift of honesty. So if they gave us that gift, we were obligated to honor it and do our best. And we told them that. And when I talked with staff about the results, the first thing I did was thank them and tell them that we really didn't know what this path would be, but that we would honor them. And the one thing that I asked in return from them was that they continue to help us and continue to stay engaged. We realized that when we did this, we'd start breaking down silos. We had attrition in leadership. We lost some long-term staff. In the beginning, those who wanted culture change stood out like a sore thumb, and there were just a few of us. Now, those who don't want it really stand out, and they're on the periphery. If they don't want it, they don't buy in, we can't make them, but we don't focus on them. We decided in our Change Ready culture team that as we started to learn how to talk about what culture meant to us, that we wanted to make SERS, the place each and every one of us had always wanted to work. So we did lots of things. We claimed the space. We have a high-rise building in downtown Columbus, but it could have been anybody's building. It was very sterile when you walked in. It's not sterile now. We have our history on the walls. We have artwork that's relevant to who we are. We have our values posted throughout the building, the values that staff developed, not me. We have branded our building. We understand what branding is now. These are all things that were very, very foreign to us. Our leaders have guidelines for behavior that they developed. Each of us has a copy at our desk. We hold each other accountable. We stand out among similar organizations for the way we treat each other and the way we behave. We began to understand the shadow of a leader, and that shadow is very, very powerful in a negative or a positive way. And we had to always lead with a positive. We have about 175 people, which makes it very manageable for us. And it's extremely important that I know everyone's name. Some of you might remember or might have grown up watching the comedy Cheers on TV, those Americans. And Cheers is actually it's a bar in Boston. But the theme song is it says it's a place where everybody knows your name. That's powerful. If someone knows your name, you begin to belong. So when anyone walks through by the security desk in the morning to come to work, anyone in our building, even our tenants, our security staff greets them by name. You get on the elevator with someone, I greet them by name. I know something about them. I can ask them questions. I know where they work. This wasn't something that came natural to me. As I said, I was educated as a lawyer. My work product was solely my work product. Well, I had to interact. My work product actually is everyone else's work product now. When we have a new employee that comes to work for us, that's announced on our intranet, which our internal communication staff takes care of extremely well. It's where all of our news is. It's updated throughout the day. But the day before that person starts, we have a photograph, we have their name, we have where they work, and we welcome them. So when they come to work, their very first day of work, they're greeted by name. They get on the elevator. People from other departments greet them by name. They welcome them. They say, if you need any help, let me know. We've become an employer of choice, and that was exactly what we wanted to do. As I said, we've posted our values throughout the building. We used words we'd never used before. Innovation, teamwork, agility, collaboration. When you think of a pension fund, you think of steady state, unchanging, conservative, insular, not cutting edge, certainly not willing to take risks. But we realized, we're institutional investors. We've known for a long time that risk is rewarded in investments, and you have to understand your risk tolerance. Why are we any different as an organization? We look at those entities we invest in, and we had been measuring them with a different yardstick than we measured ourselves. It's no different internally. Our world was changing. We had to be agile. We had to think about the future. And we had to model courage in order to continue to be relevant in today's world.
All right, thank you, Lisa. We're going to have one more poll here. And the question is, have you identified risk-taking as a necessary characteristic for your organization's success? And this is just a simple yes or no, and we'll keep it open for a minute, minute and a half. And I do want to take the chance to have Lisa respond to one question that's coming in from an attendee. And Lisa, the question is, how do you create a climate of trust without first improving communications? If people aren't talking, no trust will be built. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they go hand in glove, actually, which is why we hired professional communicators and why I focused on leadership development, because we had to unlock that thermal layer. But a lot of it was simply investing personally. I had to invest personally. I had to be very visible. People had to believe me. I had to be authentic. I had to be genuine. It had to be safe for them to come talk to me. I never undermined my leadership, my executive and director staff. But if a staff member wanted to talk with me, I even met people off-site because they were afraid to be seen talking with me. I had to invest my own time, my own energy, and again, it had to be genuine. They had to trust me.
Thank you, Lisa. And here's our results. Probably not surprisingly, pretty much across the board, yes answers. So Lisa, I'll turn it over back to you.
This really is interesting, because if you had asked us even 5 years ago, is risk-taking important for our organizational success, we would have looked at you as if you were crazy. But we began to understand that risk-taking unlocks innovation. And we had to learn that the hard way. Now we celebrate innovation, and we actually give monetary awards for process improvement. Our staff has saved us lots of money and lots of time. Who knows their jobs better than the people who are doing it? So we're listening to them. And we call out innovators and celebrate them at our all-staff meetings, which we now have quarterly. We didn't know how to do this. We simply didn't know how to celebrate, and we certainly didn't know how to take risk. And we didn't understand our risk tolerance. We made a lot of changes since 2006, and some of these are very simple, and you're thinking, well, of course. But these are things we had never thought about. Some of these I've already talked about, but I want to talk about the upfront tuition assistance. We believe in education. We serve people who work in the schools. But our tuition assistance program, our tuition reimbursement program, wasn't being used, and we wanted to develop staff. We kept talking about developing staff. Why weren't people using this? And we started talking with people, and it was just simply, it was very simple. You have someone who is a single parent and wants to finish a college degree. They don't have the upfront money to go to school that first quarter and then get reimbursed. Or if you have someone who has 2 kids in college and wants to finish a master's degree or get an additional certification or CFA, for instance, they may not be able to do that. So we simply we changed our policy. We give upfront assistance, and all we ask in return is that they do well. They get certain grades, and it is so appreciated. I can't tell you the number of staff who've taken advantage of this. And because of that, they are more dedicated. They're giving us more of their talent. Flexible work scheduling. As I said, I'm a baby boomer. Well, I don't need flexible work scheduling. We live to work. But other generations have taught us that work-life balance is probably pretty important. So what's wrong with flexible work scheduling? Nothing. What's the harm in doing it? Nothing. What's the reward? The reward is that you have employees who are grateful and who work harder. Our health and wellness program we're very proud of. We're self-insured, so of course it would affect our bottom line, but we'd never done this before. So we give premium breaks to people that engage in healthy activities. We give a premium break to someone who is working with our free fitness trainer on site, who goes to our free exercise classes on site. It's not very expensive, but they are so appreciated. We have an annual health fair. We encourage people to get all of their annual screenings. This is good for us, but it's very good for our employees, and it's a very tangible way to say, we care about your health. A simple thing like providing fruit every morning. That is so simple. It doesn't cost much at all. I think if I said we're going to stop providing free fruit in our kitchen every day for all of our staff, because we wanted them not to go to the vending machines, we wanted them to have an apple or a banana, I think people would mutiny. And it's a little, I thought it was a little thing. I was traveling to a conference, and the hotel I was staying at had a fruit bowl in every elevator aisle, and I thought, well, that's nice. So when I got off the elevator, I could take an apple to my room. And I thought, well, why can't I do that for staff? That's not expensive. But when I came back and asked my administrative services staff to look into that and give me a plan, they looked at me like, what? Why would we do that? Well, we do that because we value our employees. Everyone went to communications training, every single person. A lot of people didn't like it, but a lot of people after that training saw that they have used what they learned. And we found out that we needed some remedial communication training. And this was a 2-week course. This wasn't just a 2-hour course. We practiced our skills, and we reinforced the idea that one of the most important communication skills we have, which we don't practice at all, is listening. And that has proved very true for us as an organization. We frequently ask our employees for feedback. We frequently do satisfaction surveys and feedback surveys for the people we provide a service to. We are always doing benchmarking and measuring against other best practices. As I said, we hired a communication team, and they have brought a wealth of communication vehicles to our staff who now use them, expect them, and benefit from them. Occasionally, I'll say, we've got an issue I really need to bounce ideas around. So we just put out a call and say, anyone who wants to come to an informal think tank session, please show up. We're going to have a meeting at such and such time. And people from throughout the organization come up and just help talk through what the environment is externally, what I should be aware of, what I'm not listening to. One of the things I'm very proud of is that we are now an ENERGY STAR building. We own our own high-rise. Why is that important? Well, we're fiduciaries of a $12 billion fund that we invest and grow. So why don't we show that kind of stewardship in other ways, in the way we take care of the building? Our staff has taken such great pride in this. So now they came to me this year and said, we want to pursue LEED certification, a very difficult thing for an existing building, but we're giving it our full support. And they're taking a lot of pride in doing this. As I said, I'm doing media tours. It has had tremendous positive return for our members and retirees. And we now talk about aggressively pursuing organizational best practices. And we're one of the only pension funds in Ohio that is doing this. Now other pension funds are starting to model some of this behavior. So this is what we look like in 2006, not very stellar. This is what we look like in 2009, tremendous change. We just did another survey in 2011. We were very nervous. We've been nervous about every single survey. But we were very nervous about the 2011 survey because we've had a lot of retirements. We're like every other organization. We've been hit by the baby boomer retirements, so we've had perhaps a 50% turnover in our leadership and overall we have 40% new staff who we've never asked what they thought. This was our result. Changed a bit, which we expected, but I think we're still on track. And one thing that we continually tell ourselves and tell our staff is that we're not done. We still have work to do. Tremendous support, however. We had the highest participation yet in 2011. We had almost 93% of our staff give us honest feedback, which is tremendous considering that you always have vacations and we have a lot of staff which travels. So probably the 95+% of the people who were actually on site and here when we did the survey gave us the gift of honest feedback. What have we learned? The staff sees what we've done, and we see the trends. And in our open-ended questions, we see repeated mentioning and thank yous for many of the positive changes. We found that the comments regarding what hadn't changed were more individualized. We had pockets, which we knew, that still need attention. Collaboration is now just the way we work. It would feel strange if we didn't work across departments and didn't engage in teamwork and listen to each other. The staff really values that. We have more open communication, but again, we're not done. We can always improve. We have an extremely appreciative staff. They appreciate our programs. They tell us they appreciate our programs, such as deferred compensation match, our short-term disability program, which we never had before. We bring people in over lunch that we think they might want to hear from. In fact, we ask them, what kind of a lunch and learn topic do you want? Everything from personal safety to nutrition. Anything that our staff feels would be of value to them in their work environment or in their personal lives. Certainly our style has changed within the organization, and staff now freely give us feedback constantly, with very rare exception. No one is afraid to speak up, and people feel respected and valued for the contributions that they're making. We've heard that the same people get picked to do the special projects, and actually one of the ways we interpreted that was that more people want to be involved, and we have to be very, very conscious of the way we're making up our teams. So there's always the push to keep going back out, opening up, encouraging people to get involved, and encouraging people to step forward. Uniformity and consistency, I don't think we'll ever achieve 100% consistency across departments, and I'd have to tell you, it probably wouldn't feel right if we did. That's always an issue. All of our departments do something very distinct, but certainly during annual review time, because we have a very structured performance management process, we pay attention to this, and we've improved it each year. There's a lot more energy in this building, and because of that, the synergy between staff members and the excitement about all the possibilities, one of the things we experience is there's just not enough time in the day to do it all. So we're going to have to really, really work hard to focus and have the things rise to the top that we need to work on. Silos, we've done a tremendous job in breaking down silos. We're not done yet. And I'm constantly reminded that I need to interact more with staff. I need them to tell me this because everyone's very busy. It's very easy. I'm out of the office a lot. It's very easy for me to forget. You know, I haven't been to the print shop in a while. Or I don't think I've been down to the second floor in about a month. I need to go down and just talk to people. It's okay for staff to tell me that. I need them to tell me that. Of course, we have too many meetings because we found that, you know, when we communicate face-to-face, it's just a lot different from email or sending a memo. And a lot of our problems have to be worked out in face-to-face meetings. I agree, we have too many meetings. So what are we doing about it? This year we have planned to send more people to facilitator training to get more trained facilitators, and our commitment has been that we need to make sure that our meetings are efficient. I think resistance to change is something that's part of the human condition, and we want everyone to be accepting of change. You have to realize that not everybody will be, but the majority of people here have embraced change and they're excited by change. Very, very different from when we started. We have to remember we kept waiting for this huge event to change our culture. We kept looking for that one event that was going to make a big difference, that one change in process that was going to make a big difference. There isn't one event, one thing you can do, because it is a process. It's constant, it's ever-flowing, it's not predictable. And when we say it's humbling, one of the things that the leaders had to do, which was extremely hard, was you have to let go. You think you're supposed to be in charge of all this. You're supposed to know exactly what's going to happen. You're supposed to be able to predict everything. If someone had asked me when we started this process back in 2005, 2006, what the result was going to be, I would have to, in all honesty, tell them, I have no idea. But I had to have faith. I had to have faith that we could make this better, that the status quo was not what we wanted, but I had no idea where this would lead us. And that's very humbling because it's not something I'm used to standing up in front of a group of people and saying, I just don't know. I just don't know, but we have to trust each other. And we have to listen, because if we don't listen, we'll never be able to confront the brutal facts that we need to hear and understand and then change. We come back to the people. Our staff told us, you know, we're all good people. And absolutely, people can be the most important asset an organization has. But as a leader, of course, you realize that it's the right people and the right roles that are the most important asset. And you have to have the courage to make those changes. So I would say you're going to have to be flexible. You have to give of yourself personally, and you're going to have to enjoy the journey and the rewards that it will bring.
All right, thank you, Susan. We'll start working through a few questions now. Some really interesting questions. First one is, what specific benefits have you realized from Facebook and Twitter? How are you using it, and are people using it?
Well, right now we're testing it. We know that one other pension fund in Ohio is using it, and going to pension fund conferences, nationwide conferences, we're all just starting to test it. Our public is using Facebook and Twitter. And I said early on, I think in the presentation, that we'd started to engage externally. People are talking about us. We want to be putting factual information out there. So our plan is to put out something every day, whether it's a link to a study or information about legislation. We hope to daily put something out there and grow our following, and we've been told by our communication consultants that we are primed to do that now. So I think you're going to have to ask me in a year what the benefits are, but we clearly see that's an environment that we have to be in.
Okay, next question. since you did frequent employee surveys, did the questions change or were they fixed to measure over time?
They change for the situation, and I'd have to say we're certainly not experts in surveying, and probably one of the best strategies that I've come up with is, once we get feedback, is to just sit down and talk with the staff and listen to what they have to say, because it's very valuable to hear how they discuss issues as well as the content.
Okay, kind of a follow-up question actually is, do employees confuse the Denison tool with the employee opinion survey, or can you use the Denison tool as your survey? You know, this is kind of a common question where people may confuse the Denison survey with being some type of a satisfaction or happiness survey. What's your feedback on that?
That's correct. We see this as very distinct, and when we do a Denison survey, now that we've done 3, and we've also done a pulse survey in between, a kind of a mini Denison survey, we roll it out with fairly structured communication. So that really is an enterprise-wide event, that we get our communication experts working with us, and we not only write about it on our intranet page, but we talk about it in all staff meetings, and then we talk about it in our individual departmental staff meetings. So I think they understand that the Denison survey is very distinct from a little survey, internal, talking about, did this process work, or can you tell us about how you like using this tool. This is about how we go about our jobs, not any specific job, the Denison tool.
Okay, another question. How were your response rates, either for the Denison survey or some of the other surveys that you conduct?
Well, as I said, the 2011 Denison survey, our response rate was almost 93%. It was 92.5%, which was just incredible for us. And that was up from last time, and I'm not remembering the exact response rate, but each and every one of these, we've had a very, very high success in getting people to participate in the survey. And I think that's because we spent so much time, intentional, dedicated time, talking about this and making people feel safe. And I was just handed the survey participation. In 2009 we had 80%, 2006 we had 90%. So we've always had rather high participation that we were frankly pleased with. We were astounded by almost 93%.
Okay, thank you. Another interesting question. How many people had abandoned SERS because they did not get into the new culture? Which were the major reasons?
I would say it was the minority of people. The most visible ones were on the leadership team. And we've had, out of 10 or 12 people on that team, we've had probably 4 leave because it wasn't a cultural fit. And I must say now, when we, as I mentioned, we have become an employer of choice, and we had described that as something we desired. Now, when we start our recruitment and interviewing process, we not only look, of course we look for all the prerequisites and the competency in the field, but they're screened for culture. If it's not a culture fit, even if you're extremely well qualified, we know it won't work, so we don't hire.
Okay, we'll take one last question here, and then we've got some closing comments after that that hopefully people hang on for. Did you find any organizational structure issues that inhibited your change initiative, or did you change anything in your organizational chart to help the change?
We have changed some things. We've reorganized some areas to make more sense with, to fit with the way we do business now. We also have been very conscious of pushing collaboration. One of the things that we found in our previous organizational model was it was command and control, very boss-centric, and need to know, and we really had to break that model. Each director basically had total autonomy in the past in how their department was run, and that wasn't going to work in this 21st century organizational model. So we really had to break that. And that came through a lot of hard work and that was one thing that leaders had a real hard time with. They were part of an organization. They weren't just a department. Staff got it first.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Well, we've got a few closing comments here. For those of you listening out there, I would encourage you to contact us if you're interested in learning more about this topic or the Denison solutions, and you can go to our website at denisonconsulting.com. We do want to quickly reference our Denison Best Practice Forum. This is a forum that actually Lisa presented at earlier this year, and we're really excited about it for this upcoming year. We have one of our best lineups of presenters ever, executives from Clorox, Hertz, University of Michigan, PayPal, the Defense Logistics Agency that's part of the U.S. Department of Defense, the president of Grainger, executive from Whirlpool, Overhead Door. We're really excited about the lineup this year, and we expect to add a couple more soon. It's in January in Delray Beach, Florida, and again, all the presentations are from senior executives talking about their culture change, whether it would be in regard to an acquisition, an integration, strategic alignment, total turnaround effort, or transformation. And if you have some interest here, you can sign up for this forum on our website, or you can contact us at Denison for more information. Our webinar for the month of November, we'll get the date out to you soon, but it's going to be on the subject of iCulture, understanding the link between culture and innovation. We're going to share a few things about the innovation culture at Apple, some of our research related to the link between innovation and culture, and then go through a few live examples of work with some of our clients on very innovative connections of culture, innovation, and driving business performance improvements. So we'll get an update to you on that very soon, and hopefully you'll be able to attend. I want to close this out by thanking Lisa again for her great facilitation of this webinar.
Thank
you. We look forward to, thank you, and we'll look forward to hearing from some of you soon. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.